Just started rolling. All right. Oh my God. Okay. We are back for another Bass and Bums episode. It's actually been a little while since I've done a Bass and Bums. I'm sorry, guys. The delay has been crazy, but we're finally back. We got Mr. Swafford here. If you guys don't know this guy,
what up?
This is Jared Swafford, Mr. Daily. He is very famous for fishing every single day for 1,000 days.
1,001.
He's got pretty much world record, unofficial.
Unofficial.
I actually have the official world record. It's the unofficial official world record. So I just fish more than him. Because he's old. He's old.
Not true. Well, I am old, but I do fish more than I fish more than anyone.
That is true. Actually, this dude he's always out. He's always out bumming. I can't call him when he's not fishing. Like unless it's 10 o'clock at night, and even sometimes then you're
right.
out.
It's bad.
We were gonna do, and originally we were gonna do a Bass and Bums where we kind of just talked about our history, our history, and and all the stuff we've kind of been through and how we met and stuff like that. But we kind of started talking this morning, and we had another topic that we want to discuss. So we're gonna save the friendship stuff and the me and Jared lore for another day. Today's topic is gonna be one that's maybe a little controversial, maybe a little. It's gonna ruffle some feathers.
It's relevant for the time that we're going into right now.
Very, very relevant. So we just hit this crazy cold front here in Texas. It is, what is it?
20?
Yeah, it was 22 last night, and it just kind of got us thinking like, okay, that's gonna push fish off. They're gonna kind of pull back a little bit.
It extends our season a little longer to pursue pre-spawn bass.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And then here in a couple weeks, I'm sure it won't take very long for them to start pushing back up again. And then here, come early March,
all the anglers,
the bed brigade, they will be up and they will be hunting. Mm-hmm. So kind of how this came about is originally you said something about Mike Long and how
we canceled a person from our community, from the sport, based on. And I'm not saying that what he was doing was okay. Right. He got canceled because he caught doing something that was very frowned upon.
Of course.
Which is fishing with a treble hook.
Of course.
Yeah.
And that under a
and on beds.
When you're not looking at under a microscope, you're like, of course that's wrong, right? Of course. So we kind of started thinking a little more, and I actually have a story that I'm going to tell right now that is like sort of weirdly relevant to this. It kind of led into this entire topic, and we just started diving into it, and it was like, whoa, this is like a little deeper of like a moral, it's like a complex moral dilemma that we found. But basically me and Brian were out on the town lake one day, and Brian had this, I'm so sorry, Brian, I'm gonna tell you.
Mr. 9-pound hammer.
Mr. 9-pound hammer, I'm just gonna, I don't know if he's embarrassed about this or not, but I'm gonna go ahead and drop this story here. Basically, we were out on town lake, both on our paddle boards. Brian ended up dropping a 1500.
A DRT rod with a Cronarch.
A DRT rod, a Cronarch, and varial handles on it, just to the bottom of the lake in like 25 foot of water.
Which happens on the paddleboard. Sometimes if you're not organized,
shit just goes wrong.
Yeah.
And it happened. It was a very sad
and
moment.
Deep water too.
Deep
like
water,
middle of the lake.
Literally 25 foot, somewhere in there. So I'm like, I'm like bummed for him. So I'm like, dude, okay, hold on. Hold out hope. I'm like, it's okay, dude. We can get it back, right? And I really did think we could get it back. I was like, dude, if we just drag a treble hook on the bottom, of course we can get it back, right? So I went back to the van. I rigged up a size 1 owner STX 45 on a free rig, literally just a bare treble hook with a free rig weight in front of it, like a half ounce. And so we set up, we start firing out, and I'm just
There's a size 1.
Slowly dragging. Yeah, there it is. There's a size 1 right there. I'm going to show some B-roll over this of our different treble hook setups. But so I start fire out. I start dragging, literally just hugging bottom, trying to find this rod. You know what I mean? Like I'm sure everyone's been there, right? Whether it's a cast net or a treble hook trying to hook a rod, and we're probably like 50 casts in, right? I'm dragging up this one section, and clear as day, thunk, a fish bit. It was a bite, right? And I was like, what the hell? So I kind of reeled up and I reel checked it, and I had a fish on, dude. And I pulled it in. I was like, dude, I had to have hooked this thing in the side. And I pull it up, and I'll show the picture here because I have a picture proof. I don't know if I have the cast catch.
Choked it.
But she choked a bare treble hook. Thumped it, ate it, I reeled it in, and this fish literally had the treble hook all the way down in her mouth. And it was just like, me and Brian were sitting there like, dude, Are you kidding me?
Deadly tactic.
Dude, deadly tactic, right? I just caught this fish on a bare silver treble hook. So that was kind of a weird thing.
That's what led into this whole conversation.
This is what led into the conversation. So I caught that fish, in my opinion, legitimately because she wanted to eat what I had on my line. She
wanted it.
She wanted it, dude. She chose. She believed it was real, a real food or whatever she thought it was, and she voluntarily inhaled the lure and ate it. And I hooked her inside the mouth. I hooked her inside the mouth, right? So
you would not be able to explain that without a cast to catch or without the photos.
That's what I was saying.
Everyone would say you snagged it.
If it was a lake record, I would have
Seriously.
some serious explaining.
Yeah, if that was a 14-pound bass and it ate the treble, dude, you would get shit on.
Yeah,
people would be like, dude, no, there's something going on here.
It would absolutely be a shit show for sure.
Yeah.
So that happened, right? And this I was telling this story. I guess we were on the phone with Jeffrey, but I was telling this story, and then it was just kind of like, okay, that fish counted because she voluntarily ate the lure, right?
Inside her mouth.
She ate it, dude.
Yeah.
Like, she ate it. And it kind of just leads into the point of like, where do we draw the line on bed fishing? Because what is stopping someone from taking a treble hook, like a straight up treble hook, and hooking a Senko on it, like a 5-inch Senko on a size 1 treble hook, dropping it on the bed and just ticking her in the lip, you know what I mean, and getting a hook in. And like, they do bite it, right? Like, don't get me wrong.
They move it. They don't have hands.
And they bite it, right?
They have to move the bait.
No, 100%.
Yeah.
So like, what is, and if you told that to someone, hey, here's my setup, and it's a Senko with a treble hook in it. If you showed them this, they would be like, dude, that's wrong. You're not supposed to do that, right? Mm-hmm. But what is the difference between doing this and putting an EWG hook in the Senko? Like, there's a lure on it. You know what I mean?
Right.
It hooked her in the mouth.
It hooked her in the mouth.
So it's kind of a weird, like, where is the line, right? So
or even like on the bigger bait version of it, you got something like this where it's like
you can just manage.
She ate it.
Yeah. You can just manage to hook her in the side of the mouth.
She just grabbed it, and that's the first thing you can grab.
Right. There's I feel like there's so many weird little inconsistencies. Like it's at the end of the day, it's a moral battle. It's kind of just like, what do you deem morally acceptable?
For sure.
You know what I mean?
If it's okay with you, then it's okay.
Like, how do you want to catch that fish? You know what I mean? Like, how does it happen? For me personally, I see any form of bed fishing as not. For me, that's not a win. You know what I mean? Like, that to me,
something that comes that easy isn't a win.
In my eyes, right? And some people would argue that it is difficult. And don't get me wrong, I'm sure there are bedfish out there that are difficult to catch. Maybe you have to sit on them all day. But in my eyes, that fish did not eat the lure out of hunger. That's not that's not a fish that you go out and you fooled into biting. It's a fish that you maybe pestered until she was just so like
annoyed.
I said, they don't have hands. They have to move it off the bed somehow.
Eventually, they're gonna move it.
100%.
And normally you see the male is just murdered up around the mouth. He has been caught,
more than once,
removed. Yeah. Guys will roll up to the bed. They'll catch the male. They'll live well the male. The female's the only thing left.
Right.
And they'll have to fish that. They'll have to fish for hours. Sometimes go through the whole arsenal of lures to say, I caught that fish.
Yeah. And that's like, you know.
They might even come back the next day and not even put the male back.
Yes.
And then they'll just
they'll catch that fish. So that just, like I said, I don't know where you put that on your moral compass. But there's another, like, this is like another thing that I kind of thought about earlier where we were talking about like hooking fish in the side, right? So most people would be like, hey, if you're throwing a treble hook, right, on a Senko, like sure, whatever, but it wouldn't count if you hooked it in the side, right? Which, okay, makes sense, right?
Right.
But let's go to a different argument where there was actually a fish that was caught. Now, I'm not bashing whoever caught it, like whatever happens. This is kind of one of those things that just happens, but it was that 17-pounder that was caught at OHIV, right? There's a cast to catch video of this fish being caught. It's live scoped. It's in deep water. She clearly wanted to eat the bait, right?
Right.
But when she came up next to the net, she was hooked in the side with one hook, right? She was foul hooked.
A 17-pound bass, it could have pulled one of the hooks, and then she ended up getting snagged on the side.
Of course. Like I said, I don't think this guy was out there intentionally snagging fish from the
Not
bait
at all.
rig. I think that's
I think
ridiculous.
it was a freak accident.
It was a freak accident, right?
Yeah, I think the fish probably pulled one of the small,
of course,
shitty brand named jig hooks out because they straighten pretty easy.
Yeah.
And then the other hooks are just around her.
Got hooked in the side.
Anyways.
So when you, then it comes like, okay, so that fish is okay, right? Like, sure, it just happens, right? But if you hook a fish in the side while bed fishing, that's not right.
No,
right?
no, bad.
It's because, and it's like, I'm trying to figure out where it's okay. Because if you hook a fish in the bed, if you hook a bed fish in the side while it's on a bed, it's because you can see it, right? That would be the argument. It's like, okay, if you can see the fish and you hook it in the side, you have intentionally snagged it. But then it goes this other argument of like, if you can see the fish on live scope, how is that not sight fishing? You know, like that feels like a weird dilemma.
Also
like,
another,
right. Not that now, not even going past that letting a fish or hooking a fish in the side anywhere, even if you foul hook it by accident outside, it's illegal to keep, right? That is not a legal fish. So, you know, what is the difference? What is the difference truly between hooking a fish outside the mouth, you know, when you're live scoping versus on a bed? You see? So it's just something that I've been rolling around in my head. There's a lot of like weird stuff that is.
I mean, there's a lot of, here in Texas, there's a ton of records that are made off of bedfish.
Yes.
And that's, okay, we accept it. Like, bed fishing is going to happen.
Totally.
People are going to, this is like the one time where these true giant fish move up, and they're up there for a short period of time, and they're vulnerable. Especially in Texas, vulnerable. Especially where we are in Central Texas, where all of our water is clear.
Right.
Like,
those fish can't hide.
No, they can't hide.
They can't hide.
Yeah. You're in a grassy lake, and then you're going across the bank, and it's just like white shell.
Yep. It's very
grass,
clear.
white shell. You're like, oh.
Not to mention, not even the white shell. It's also pretty easy to see the 28-inch largemouth sitting on top of the bed.
And to take it a step further, now we have people out on the lake with ladders or platforms on the front of their boat where they're elevated off the water an extra 10 feet.
Right.
Like, I'm tall. I'm 6'5". I stand at the front of my bass boat, and I don't have a problem seeing beds at all.
No.
But for me, morally, I don't like to fish them. I don't enjoy it. It's not the same satisfaction of I earned this fish or I worked for this fish.
Right. I got her to bite.
Yeah.
Again, not like this is literally just whatever you decide is okay.
For sure.
This is what we have decided we like. So when I catch the fish, I'm satisfied when I get it to eat out of like a decision.
Right.
Not out of a
you
pester.
convinced this fish to eat because either you presented the bait the right way or...
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That is very satisfying to me. I like that. You know what I mean?
I think we'd both have bigger PBs if we probably have a lot more DDs and a larger PB if we were okay with the other side.
Absolutely. I don't think that would be even a question. But it's funny seeing people go out with ladders, right? It's funny seeing people go out with ladders to go bed fishing, or sitting on a spot to go bed fishing, like holding the fish away from anyone to catch it. All of this is to make catching that fish easier, right? Like that is how that works, right? So I don't understand. Yeah. True, right? So
she ate it,
right?
Get the net.
She wanted it, dude. So putting the ladder on the front of your boat is to make bed fishing easier, right?
Right.
So why don't we put a treble hook in a Senko and get her to eat it?
That's easier.
That would be way easier than a jig, right?
For sure.
Very, very easy. Then trying to set the hook through a brush guard, through a jig, you know what I mean? Like, why don't we just put a treble hook in a Senko? Why don't you put 2 treble hooks in a Senko? Why don't you put 3? Just have them all in there. So if she even touches it,
you get a tail bite.
You get a tail biter, dude.
Yeah.
She gets it in the lip.
Yeah.
So it's like, where do you draw your line? You know what I mean? Like, where is this line drawn? It's just a very interesting concept. This treble hook in the Senko right there, most people will tell you this is wrong. Most people look at you and go, hey, that's wrong. You're not supposed to do that. And you go, why?
It's going to catch her.
Dude, it's going to catch her. It's just going to be a lot easier than trying to get her to fully inhale a jig. She'll just nip this.
Same as adding a ladder to your boat.
Dude,
it's easier.
Same thing.
Yeah.
So it's like, where does it go? Where does it go from there?
Yeah. I or take it even a step further and put your live scope on scout view, and then you can patrol the edge of maybe a 10 to 5 foot bank, and you can visually find a bed that you wouldn't be able to find with your eyes, but you can use the electronics And then if you get up on your platform, then you can actually, I spot it now. I had to put my super polarized glasses on, but I can make it out.
All in hopes of catching that fish easier.
Apply that.
Apply this. It would make it way easier.
You are going to catch them.
You're going to catch them, dude. Like, I really do think so. And maybe in some world I'm completely wrong. Maybe there is a very specific trick.
We are not good at this. We're not good at bed fishing. We're unexperienced with it.
So maybe there is a very specific trick. I've heard from certain people before that, there are certain fish that won't bite when your electronics are on, or they won't bite when, you have a hook showing or something like that. And, part of me is like, okay, like maybe, you know what I mean? But the other part of me is like, the fish is not eating out of hunger. She's not eating because it's her time to decide this is a meal. She's eating out of like, oh, this needs to leave my bed. I don't have hands. I have to move this.
When a fish eats out of the season, not on bed,
right?
They see something like this and they inhale it.
Yes.
Boom.
Gone.
They will never eat something like this off a bed where they go.
Right.
They will gently grab it
and try and
move it.
Yeah.
Very quickly though. They'll move it very quickly. A lot of times it's too quick for most people to set the hook on a jig or
exactly.
Or say this had an EWG in it.
Right. That would be harder to
get
a hook
It would be
set,
really hard. You would pull it out of her mouth every time.
Especially if she bit the end of it. But with the treble hook on there.
With the treble hook on it.
You just poke her, dude.
It's going to get a piece of skin. It's going to grab her.
It's going to get her.
It's going to work.
It's going to get her in the lip. So.
And that counts.
And that counts because it was in the mouth.
It's in the mouth.
So it's like, again, like where do you draw your line? You know what I mean? Like I said before, personally, that just is not how I want to win. You know what I mean? It's kind of like you have to decide, how do you want to win? How do you want to catch that fish? You know what I mean? And if that is like totally fine to you, if the only thing that matters to you is getting the fish in, getting the picture, then sure. Like that's
a win.
Then you go for it, right?
I mean, take it a step further, and this is something that is probably very frowned upon, but it's easier to catch them. Mm-hmm. Put live bait down there.
Right.
But live bait is like, oh, he's a live bait fisherman.
Yeah. Live bait's a no.
Everyone hates live bait fishermen. But I won't say hate, but it's easier.
It is way easier.
Like you're going to catch it for sure on live bait.
So that's the thing. It's like setting your moral, like you're going down the ladder here, you know what I mean? You can just keep going. You can go treble hook on a worm, you go treble hook on a live bait, So
that's a guaranteed you're going to get that photo that you want. You're going to catch that 15-pound bass.
100%.
Yeah.
But, live baiting is not okay. So then people will be like, okay, pester him on the bed. Like, is that any more okay? Like I said, that's up to you to decide. You know what I mean? Like,
For sure.
you literally have to decide if that is okay or not. So it's just a weird moral battle.
And if you do it, and you're okay with it, like, back it.
Back it.
I mean, post the cast to catch. Mm-hmm. Write in the caption, I caught it on a bed. This fish is ginormous, and I caught it on a bed. And I would respect someone more for saying it. Than being like, I probably won't show this cast to catch because I don't want to burn the spot.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, just say it as what it is. Call it what it is. You don't have, if you're for it, back it.
Yep.
And if you're not, well, who cares if other people are doing it? It doesn't affect me that people bedfish. I can look at it and be slightly frustrated because that boat's been sitting on the juicy point for over 5 hours.
Yeah.
But I'll move along. I'll keep going.
100%. I don't know. And again, I own up to what I do. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to go out and I'm going to paddleboard and I'm going to catch this fish, and that's the way I'm going to catch it.
Your way.
That's the way I'm going to catch it. It's my way. It's not the most efficient way. In fact, it's probably one of the least efficient ways.
For sure.
Like, there are benefits to the way I do it, obviously, but it's probably one of the least efficient ways out of any of the techniques. You know what I mean? Like, I think
it could take you an hour to get to your spot.
True, dude.
Me on my boat, it takes me like 2 minutes.
Right. And if I had a boat, you know what I mean? Like, but then, like I said, this is funny because we've gone so deep down towards the live bait hole and the treble hook hole. But you could also go back the other way and be ridiculous about it. Like, hey, you're catching them on a boat, so that doesn't even count. Right. And I'm like, okay.
You're catching them on a boat with scopes, so it definitely doesn't count.
Right, exactly, right? And then it's like, you could go either way. You could be ridiculous either way.
For sure.
Again, it's just however you want to catch it.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter whatever's going on around you. You know
I caught it.
Right.
Do you feel good about it?
Yeah. Do you feel good about it?
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Well, if you feel good about it, then whatever.
Whatever.
You know?
That's literally it. It's up to the person. So I see a lot of arguments. I see a lot of angry comments. I see a lot of just hate and stuff getting thrown around, and it's just crazy over something that is, like I said, it's a moral dilemma. It's just whatever you decide is acceptable. And we all as a community decided that Mike Long needs to get out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We decided
forever
that he needs to
tarnished
get
name
out. You know what I mean?
because he was caught using a treble hook.
Absolutely ostracized.
Everything that he did prior to that was erased, and he was from what I have looked I guess looked up on him because he's before my time. Yeah. But at one point in time,
he's old, but he's not that old.
At one point in time, he was legit. He caught trophy California largemouth bass on swim baits.
Right, and like.
The whole world was looking at him at one point in time.
Who's to say how many of those fish? Because like at the end of the day, you can't bed like all of his fish. You couldn't bed fish all of them.
No,
like,
for sure.
That is the ridiculous number. So it's like I said, not defending him, but at the same time, how is that so much worse than what the guys do out here in Texas when they have the ladders, when they have like stuff like this? Like where do you draw your line?
Right.
Like I'll see people who.
Dude, people pay money to go on a guided double-decker boat bed fishing.
Yes.
And they not only do they pay money, they pay a lot of money to go catch a teener class bass. Maybe even a world record line class bass.
So the only difference between Mike Long getting completely ostracized from the community and you being having a legal catch is literally whether the hook is inside the mouth or outside the mouth. Which could happen anyway. Like,
or a straight hook or a hook.
Right.
Or a bait attached to a hook.
Yes.
Now that's okay. This is not.
The Senko on a treble hook, totally fine, right?
Hook by itself.
If you go by the standards set by the community, treble hook on a Senko, totally fine. 2 treble hooks on a Senko, totally fine. It's a bait.
You caught it.
A bare treble hook that I have personally went out and caught fish on that have eaten it is not okay.
Not okay.
So where do you draw your line? Where do you draw your line? It is a very funny thing.
We could definitely go way deep into this with all the different, I guess, where you stand in fishing, what's okay, what isn't.
Right. This is like one
the etiquette of like proper etiquette. You know, there's so many different nuances.
This is one single little moral complication that we're discussing here. You can go down the live scope rabbit hole. You could go down the etiquette rabbit hole. You could go down the private water rabbit hole. It's just like, dude, what counts and what's not? At the end of the day, it's just however you feel good catching that fish. You know what I mean?
But there's a lot of people who get fame off of one fish. There's a lot of people that get fame off a few giant fish.
And then there are people like Mike Long that got booted because of what he was doing, right? So it's like, where do you put your support? You know what I mean? Where do you put your fame? Like who do you decide who is a good angler or not? You know what I mean? And
some anglers only come around through the months of February through May.
Right. And that is, dude, if that's how you do it, then sure thing. You know what I mean? Sure thing. But look at the guys who are out there all the time. Like I said, now I'm gonna glaze you a little bit, okay? Because he's not allowed to glaze himself because he's old. He is old. Just remember that he's old. But I'm gonna glaze Jared a little bit because Jared is one of the guys that I have looked up to for forever, right? Forever. I remember back in high school when I was still in school, you were a little less old, but you were still old, and you were out there fishing. When you were doing the fishing every day, I was literally like, I'd check my phone and I would refresh my Instagram to check and see like, oh, did he catch a 10 yet? Did he catch a 10 yet? That journey to catch your second double digit was like, dude, I was engaged, right? And
it took me 560 days, I think, of fishing every day to finally catch another double.
To catch one legitimately in the way that you decided was okay. You know what I mean? Like that's how I wanted to do it and you did it, right? And to me, like watching that happen, like I have so much respect for the people who are out there when it's cold, when it's rainy, when it's hot as
105,
when they're out there
15.
all the time, because that really shows the people that love it.
They're in it for the right reasons.
They love the actual action of going out and trying to catch a fish the way they want. To me, it just seems a little disingenuous when you're out there, you know, for 3 months out of the year, you know what I mean? Or when the only thing that matters to you is the fish. That's the only thing that matters.
Yeah.
And to me, like, I just don't see that in Jared. I don't see that in, you know, there are people out there that are going out and just doing it for the love of doing it. I love going out and just paddling. I could catch nothing all day, and there's nothing I'd rather do.
You were out in nature, on the water.
I'm out there, and I gave it a shot. You know what I mean? And then when it finally does happen, it's so satisfying. But it's not about the fish. It's literally about everything else that came before that led up to it.
For sure.
But like I said, that's why I look up to you so much, is because you are literally out there. No matter what, dude. Like, you are fucking out there, dude. And
I appreciate it.
That's, before we even met, like, that's the same exact thing I thought. And I still think the same thing. Like, that is just something that I admire and respect a lot. And I just don't see that kind of respect and admiration for this type of angler anymore. You know what I mean?
No,
like,
definitely.
Like, it's I don't know, it's maybe not fading, and maybe it's just a general populace. Maybe I'm speaking about a...
I think that we're just a little more in that lower percentage of what... Maybe that's the wrong way to put it. We're the diehards, I guess. I don't know. There's a lot of diehards out there, though.
No, there are.
And me doing the fish every day thing, I wanted to do it just to... It was a learning experience for me, because I was a fairly novice angler when I started.
Just to and
I feel like I got lucky on my first double digit. I legitimately caught it.
But you also improved.
But I couldn't tell, and I improved a lot.
You improved a ton.
But then being able to share that experience with everyone inspires other people to kind of go that same page or that route where they're like, I want to grind like that.
But that's what we are getting at here, is that you catching the fish is not what's most impressive to most people, I don't think.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, just the action of being out there and learning and going and doing it no matter what is very, very impressive and very admirable. Like, I see people out there that...
Getting their ass handed to them.
Dude, they haven't caught as many double digits as whoever, like so-and-so, you know what I mean? But it doesn't... I look up... There are people here in Austin that I look up to more than, you know, the legends.
Right.
I go, dang, dude, you're out there, like, doing it, you know? You were out there every single day, and that's like, you're learning, you're getting better, and watching that progression is really cool. That's the same thing that I'm doing right now. Uploading every day. Dude, I'm getting way better at editing. I just threw together a little reel for you last night, and I was proud. I was proud. I was like, dang, I'm getting good. It's like the consistency and the, like, mastering your craft, doing it no matter what. Not just to post a big fish to show people. It's the whole process is what I love. Just every piece of it. And I feel like you're going to get frustrated if that's the only thing that matters to you, is catching a fish. You know what I mean? You are going to get incredibly frustrated. You have to go out and be like...
Oh, I went through that phase.
Yes.
23, 24, I went on a 2-month, maybe 3-month skunk going for a fish at one of my hardest lakes. And my happiness was based on catching big fish back then. I was not very happy.
No,
I was very upset with fishing. And then this last year I said, I'm just going to take a step back and just enjoy what I do and go back to posting my content, sharing it. And I mean, I'm not catching double digits every single day.
How many doubles did you have this year, by the way? How many do you have this year?
None.
And how many do I have, by the way? How many do I have this year, by the way? Also, how old are you? And how old am I?
But like me finding the joy out of just being on the water, I lost it.
Yeah.
Because I was so focused on catching the double digit. I was so focused on like, this fish is the one that truly matters to me, which is like 9 over plus. But now I'm like, man, that was cool. I just went out and I caught a few fish. How many fish did you catch yesterday?
I can't wait for you guys to see this video. It's not going to drop yet for a little while, but I mean, I legitimately caught like 80 to 100 pounds of bass yesterday.
Yes.
Total. Like
how many fish did I catch?
One.
How big was my fish?
Your fish was a lot bigger than any of the fish that I
yes.
caught. But that's like, that was...
But we had a banger day
so
of
fun.
Excitement and just laughing and messing around on the boat. And it's like, it's not about the fish though. No. Marshall caught a bunch of dinks.
And I was
constantly saying, oh, leave them alone. But Marshall's laughing. He's having a blast out
Dude,
there.
I loved it. I loved it.
I caught my one good fish, so I was stoked.
Yes, dude.
Yeah.
It was like the perfect storm. But like,
and that's why we do it.
Exactly.
That's the feeling. If we were out there trying to catch this one fish all day off a bed, we would have not have had any of those experiences. You know.
Hey, going.
We were just going out there and blind fishing the way we fish.
Going through the motions.
Going through the motions,
man.
It was fun.
Oh my god. Anyway, I think we should definitely save a lot of like the
juicy
the lore. Let's save the lore for another episode because we need to dive into this. Like, we could dive in this for 2 hours. We could talk about.
We need to go much deeper.
We could talk about you and I's friendship for a long time, but that was
the breakup.
The breakup. We could talk about the breakup. We
could reunion.
We could talk about us meeting. All this stuff, right?
Yeah.
It's all very important stuff, and we do want to discuss that later. I just wanted to make this a little video to talk about morals. Talk about fishing. Like, where do you stand on fishing? And I'm really glad we actually got to end that on a good note because we kind of went into it a little aggressive, and it is like an upsetting
It's hard
topic.
not to be. Yeah,
no, totally.
Yeah.
But we managed to turn that into something really good, and just a thinking piece. Like I said, nobody's at fault here. We're all, at the end of the day, we all are doing it because we like it. I hope. I pray. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, we want to catch the fish.
Yeah, and everyone is. So I hope that's, I just wanted to put that out there and say, like, dude, maybe if your intentions are, only catching the fish, step back and look at it a little bit. Step back and look at it from a distance.
Or we got a new rig for you.
Oh, true.
If you're trying to get,
True.
We're gonna call this the Wonko rig.
The Wonko rig. Okay, here it is.
Yeah.
Let me show the close up. There it is, the Wonko rig. We got it for you.
Yep.
Amazing.
If this is your thing,
If this is your thing, man,
drag that around. You will not miss them.
you won't miss them. You can't miss them. God, love. That's perfect. All right. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you guys so much for supporting. Make sure you are following Jared. Some people watch. This is gonna be a lot of people's first time seeing you, which is kind of funny.
Yeah.
So make sure you guys go support at Jared Swagford on Instagram. SWAGFORD. Mr. Swafford. He is a legend. He's a legend. Thanks for coming on and talking about this stuff with me. I appreciate it. And you'll probably see him some more. I'm sure. When I get over to Japan, you'll see him a lot more. But any last words? Go through the motions.
Go through the motions, yeah. Enjoy what you're doing out there.
Peace out, y'all.